Hey everybody, my name is Michael Jones. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. Today I'm going to tell you about my program Step in Oklahoma. Step in Oklahoma is supporting families who step in for kids by taking them into their home. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more what that means as we go. During this presentation, I'm going to tell you first why I started this program, what our program exactly does, what our needs are, and how you can be involved in helping families who step in for kids here in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm going to start off by talking about how we got to where we're at now, a little bit of our traction. And I'm going to do this by telling a little bit of my family's story. In 2018, my wife and I stepped in for a child who needed help. This little girl on the screen was adopted from Haiti by a distant family member of ours who was now unable to care for her. And so we were faced with the situation of either we took her in or she was going to be taken to foster care. And so for us, the choice was really simple. And here's what we knew. We knew that we loved kids, we knew we had room in our house, and we knew that she needed help. And so, like many families, we said yes. But let me tell you what we didn't know. What we didn't know is how much trauma there was with kids who come from through adoption, how expensive the process would be, how long the adoption would take to get completed, or how alone we would feel in the process. We had no idea how difficult the process of privately adopting would be. We began a journey that lasted over 2 years and cost over $15,000. We also had no idea how difficult parenting a child with trauma would be or how alone we would feel in the journey. While most foster care adoptions are free, we were told time and time again that because we took her before she was in the system, we could get no help. Over the years, we've now spoken to dozens of families who share similar stories to ours. And so because we found so many families in this situation, we really believe that there's an opportunity for a program to support these families. So let's just take a minute to talk about Step in Oklahoma, who we are. Step in Oklahoma is a partner program of the nonprofit organization World Family Missions. World Family Missions is a religious 501c3 which has been working on both international and domestic projects since 2015. Myself, my wife, and a close friend of ours founded World Family Missions then, and so we have a little bit of experience in the nonprofit world. Who do we serve? We exist to serve displaced children who are not in foster care and their guardians/families in Oklahoma. Now, these might be grandkids, they might be siblings, nieces or nephews, friends, adopted kids. These are basically any child who's not living with their biological parents. And so we're supporting those families who have taken those children in. And you'll notice we put specifically those who are not in the foster care system currently, because there is some government support and some aid for those families. And so we're going to focus on kids who are either have already graduated and no longer get any help from foster care, but even more commonly, just kids who are just being cared for. Maybe they're not even adopted. They're just living in somebody's house. That family's just stepped in for them. We want to support those families. So a fair question, something like this, is this actually a need? Well, according to the Kids Count Data Center, as of 2021, there are 61,000 children living in Oklahoma with neither parent. Of those kids, HHS.gov reports that as of September 21, 7,468 were in foster care. So this means that there are roughly 53,532 kids who are living without their parents. Let me just say that again. There's over 50,000 kids who are living with neither parent in Oklahoma. It means there's thousands of families who are stepping in and caring for kids who are not their own children. So I would say, yes, this is definitely a need. Let's talk about the problems that these families are facing. What do we actually want to help with? These families are really often hurt because they've taken in this child and they don't know how to handle it. And there's a lot of hurt that has come up and they don't know what to do. Sometimes it's hurt with the biological parents. Sometimes it's hurt with the child themselves, the behaviors they've experienced. Often these people feel very alone. I know in our circumstance, we always felt alone because we couldn't get any help and we didn't even know where to look for help. And we were just trying to do our best, but we didn't have anybody around us to help us. Often they have a lack of funds. These processes of adoptions, when you don't have state support, can be very, very expensive. But even beyond that, when you take in other children, your budget all of a sudden needs to get bigger when your income didn't. And there's things like therapy and activities and sports and music that you don't have the money for that now you're having to pay for. Often they need professional help. I know in our personal experience, we needed professional help. We needed to get some counseling, some speech therapy. We needed things that we were not able to do on our own. And so we needed professional help. We were undereducated because we just stepped in when there was a need and we didn't say, we're going to go adopt a child. We didn't go through all the trainings or understand trauma in the way that would have been good for us. And so we were undereducated for what we needed to help this child. And then you can often feel very unsupported by family and friends because the family and friends don't understand what you're going through. Sometimes family and friends will take the too nice way and be like, oh, it's just another kid. You shouldn't be having any problems. It's just a kid. They don't understand that there really is trauma. Or the flip side is they're saying, I don't know why you took that kid. It's taking away from your other kids. And families can experience guilt and shame from their friends and families. And so we want to help with all of these areas. This is the big problem that these families are facing. And so what is the answer? What do we need to do? What exists already for these families? And while there are programs and funding to support foster kids and foster families and even international adoptions, there's almost zero help for families who step in to care for a child before they're put into the system. And so this is what Step in Oklahoma does to be the solution. We provide scholarships to pay for adoption fees, to pay for attorney fees, to pay for therapy, to pay for activities, whatever financial needs a family has, we're going to help step in and pay for that. And so scholarships are a big thing we do. We also create support groups. These in-person support groups offer both training, but even more than that, fellowship. We did a lot of interviews with families who had taken in children or whose grandchildren were adopted, people who are around this world. We did interviews with them to find out what the need really was. And support groups was one of the number one answers we got because they just said we so often felt alone. And we just needed people around us to say, we're going through it too. It's okay. We're going to make it. So this is a really big one. Another thing that was brought up was professional help. Sometimes you just don't have the tools to handle kids who have come from trauma. You may be a great parent. You may be a great family. I always say my wife and I felt like we were great parents until we adopted. And then all of a sudden we felt like we didn't know how to do anything. It's because you need some professional help to kind of guide you through this, to give you training, to help you walk through situations. And so we want to connect families with professionals and ideally help those professionals, get those professionals to pay for either offer their services at a discounted rate or even free to these families. We want to get them the help they need and actually help them afford it as well. And then we also offer We also offer online resources and groups. And so we'll have support groups that are online groups and also creating and offering online trainings that are free to families. So as they're looking for solutions for the problems that they're facing, that they can find some stuff online. And so here's really our message to our families. Our message to them is for displaced kids and their families who need community support and healing. We've developed a program to connect you with other families who are walking through similar things and professionals who can help get you the support, training, and healing you need. Our virtual and in-person support groups will connect you with other families like yours and professionals in training who can help you navigate the specific challenges your family is facing. We will provide you with practical training and tools to raise this child in a healthy and successful way for your entire family. And I want you to know that if somebody had said that to me a couple years ago, as we were struggling with the trauma and struggling with the finances, it would have been a lifesaver. I would have said, oh my goodness, that's what I need. And that's what we need for our family. And so that is what we're doing for our family. And so let's take a look at our business model canvas. If you're familiar with this, this is just an overview of what our organization does. And we're not going to look at the entire canvas today. I'm going to move this down here so you can see everything. We're not going to look at the entire canvas, but this would be available if you'd like to take a look at it later on. We're going to look at a couple key parts of our canvas though today. First, we're going to look at section 1, which is customer or client segments. These are basically who our program exists to serve. And so you see at the top, we have 3 areas. Top right, we have kids who don't live with either parent. Ultimately, we're here to serve these kids. Second is the caretakers, or families who are raising them. We know that they're in it together, but they also can have different needs, the kids and the families. And then we're also here to serve the extended family or the community or the churches, the people that are around them. We want to help educate them and help them learn how they can support these families as they're stepping in for kids. You can see we also have different kind of donors that we're seeking. If you're watching this today, we hope that maybe you would consider being a donor to our program. But we're looking in multiple areas for different kinds of donors. We're looking for individuals who will just contribute on a monthly basis or even volunteer for our program. We're looking for businesses who are willing to support on a larger level. We're looking for churches who want to partner with us in serving families, both financially and even by hosting support groups. We're also really looking for professionals who are willing to come and serve our program, help develop training, and specifically offer discounted or free professional services to our families. These could be counselors or therapists or attorneys, anyone like that. Even athletics or music or different programs that these kids need, maybe professionals in those areas who could help with that. We're also going to be looking to government entities to look about getting fundraising like grants and scholarships from the government that we can use as well. Second thing I'd like you to take a look at is our value proportions, this area right here in number 2. And so here's what kind of value we're bringing to our clients. We talked about it a little bit on the previous slide, but we want to bring them community with families in similar situations, training for raising kids coming from trauma, financial support for therapy, adoption fees, cost of care. We want to connect them with organizations and people who can help them. We want to give them friendships with other kids who also don't live with their parents. One of the things we really want to do is have groups where these kids can be together in a good, safe way and realize they're not alone in this. We want to introduce them to Jesus. Above everything else, we have a heart for the Lord, and we don't want to give them a good life, but then not have their souls taken care of. And so we want to introduce them to Jesus. We want to give them training on how to support families taking in kids. This is for the extended family. We want to train them on how to support the families. And so number 6, if you go just over, number 6 are key activities. These are the things we're doing that really tie to these values. And so here's what we'll be doing for our clients. We'll be posting helpful content on Facebook. We'll be hosting virtual and in-person community groups. We'll be hosting STEM and other fun events for those kids. We're going to be building connections with professionals in this field so that we can connect them to families. We're going to be giving scholarships and paying for services by raising financial support. As far as our donors, what we want to do is we want to recruit donors like what we're doing today. We want to invite people to come in and join us with our work. And we also want to make partnerships with professionals who are in the field. And if that's where you're at, we would love to partner with you to help serve our program. And then last on the canvas that I want to take a look at is number 8 on the far left side is key partners for our organization. Online partners, we have Facebook. Facebook's a really important part of what we do. We're going to be starting a Facebook group. This is going to be one of our main ways we're going to connect people to our program. And so Facebook really is a partner for us. And we're going to learn how to use that well. We can use Facebook marketing and different tools on Facebook. And so that's really a partner. Churches are a big partnership for us. We need churches who are going to host support groups, hopefully all over the state of Oklahoma. And then specifically, Angus Church is where I'm employed as one of our board members as a senior pastor. Angus Church is committed to this ministry, committed to hosting groups, to financially supporting, and to doing whatever is needed. So Angus is really a real support. We also have a few churches we're friends with, like Shamrock Church and Crosspoint Church. We have good connections there, as well as a few others here in Sand Springs where we're located. Beyond that, we're connected to Oklahoma Baptist, which is a large organization with lots of funding and lots of connection all over the state. We also are connected to the Tulsa Metro Baptist Network, which is a collection of Baptist churches within the area of Tulsa. In fact, our lead pastor is the president of that organization. And this is an important connection because it means we have direct communication with hundreds of pastors across the state of Oklahoma, which gives us the ability to connect with them both for financial support and even more specifically to host small groups in their churches. After that, we have connections with some nonprofits. Building All Kids is a nonprofit organization in Tulsa that is already seeking to help adoptive families and foster families get evaluations that they need, that normally you have to pay a lot of money for. They're doing these evaluations for free, and then they're giving them lists of contacts like counselors and therapists as well. So we want to use them in their evaluations that they do. Family Hope House is a counseling organization that we've used personally and we have a connection with, and we want to continue to pass families to them as they accept Sooner Care, or Medicaid as it's called, Sooner Care here. But for low-income families who qualify for that, they can accept those families, and they're really targeting adoptive kids. And then Mobile Missions. It is a nonprofit organization that just wants to help the poorest of the poor and people in Tulsa area. We also have connections to DHS, the government, and they're a key partner in what we're going to do here as well. And so coming to this next slide, as it loads up here. Let's get back where we were. There we go. All right, let's talk a little bit about revenue, right? We're talking about fundraising, so it'd be good to know about revenue. So our program, support, training, and small groups, they are all free to our clients. But many of the professional services they need are very expensive. And so in order to help meet these needs, we are going to raise support, and we're going to raise support in two different ways. First, we are going to raise support through professional services. Like I've mentioned before, our families need therapy, counseling. They need other kinds of therapy like speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. They need tutoring in school. And often these kids need activities like sports or music or other out-of-school activities that the families who are taking these kids, they can't afford these services. And so the first way we're raising support is we want to raise connection to professionals who are willing to offer these services at discounted or free rates. So then we can connect them with our families and say, hey, you need speech therapy? Well, here's a speech therapist that's willing to do this for half the cost. Okay, you can't afford this? Well, here's one that's willing to do it for free. We want to be a bridge builder between the professionals and the clients and help them get those services. The other way we want to raise is financial donations. Obviously, we want to give scholarships and we need to pay for some of these services, and so we'll need financial contributions. And we do this through individuals, through businesses, through churches, and through government grants. So let's talk about how we're going to grow this. What's our marketing and our growth strategy? Right now, if you ask where are our customers looking today to find help, I would say that they're looking to adoption agencies. They're calling agencies and saying, what kind of help can I get? They're calling, if their child's in like public school or in private school, they're going to school and saying, we're struggling with this. What can you do to help us? Some of our families are going to churches and they're going to pastors and saying, Pastor, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to parent this child. They're seeking at friends and saying, are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing this? They're looking for someone. Often they're just searching social media, just scrolling through, trying to find people who are talking about how to parent kids who are coming from trauma, how to parent adoptive kids. And so that's where they're looking right now. And so where will we get in front of them is in a lot of those same places, but also through professionals. Some of these families are already going to counseling or other professional agencies, and so we want to get into those counseling offices, get into those therapies, work with these doctors, and so that the professionals can also, who can give to the program and give their time, but they can also tell these families, say, hey, you're looking for more support, a support group, go look at Step In Oklahoma, and they can really help you. Same for churches. If a church has a family that's going through this, they can pass them to our organization, schools, social media. We really want to be in all of these places that these families are looking. We want to have a connection there. And what's the entry point? How do we get them into our program? And the entry point for us is the Step In Oklahoma Facebook group. In our research and talking to people, we found that most everybody we talked to was using Facebook groups in some way or another. And so we are going to have Step In Oklahoma, which is a Facebook group. And the point of this Facebook group will be for two things. Number one is we are going to post helpful content. It's going to be a place that is flowing with resources so that even if they didn't do anything else, a family could just have that, they could join that group, and they could be consistently seeing both encouraging and helpful training materials that could help them in their day-to-day life. So when they're having a frustrating day with that kid, they get on their phone, they get on Facebook for a second, all of a sudden there's a post that's encouraging them, that's helping them get through it. They're seeing comments from other families that are going through things as well. But we also want this to be a connecting point with other people. Sometimes when you just don't feel alone, it gives you the strength to get through the day. And so that entry point is that Step In Oklahoma Facebook group. And then if you look over here, we have this progression. This is what we would like to see for all of our families and all of our clients in our program, kind of the stages of being in our program. Stage one, what we'd like to get everybody into is that they join the Facebook group. So even if they're not commenting, they're not doing anything, they're at least seeing the post because it's coming up in their feed. So they join the group. But really, we know that community is not just online. They really need an in-person community. And so stage two is we'd be getting them from in a Facebook group to actually attending an in-person community group where we can really get them connected. Stage three of that is that we connect them to a professional through our program. So after we get to know them through these small groups, these community groups, we get to know what their needs are, then we want to get them actually connected to professionals who can help them in their specific needs. And the final stage of this is we would love to see these families then go and lead an in-person group somewhere else. We'd like to see this model where they're attending a small group for a while, then they get professional help, they start seeing healing, they start seeing financial freedom, they start seeing growth, and they learn in their group, and then they go back to where they're from, and they start a group at their church, or they start a group in their town that then is helping families who are in the same situation. They can actually go and now become a part of that solution. And so that's what we would like to see for our clients as they go through our program. Let me tell you a little bit about our team so you can know who your investment, who your donations would be going to. I want you to know we have an experienced team. Starting with myself, Mike, and my wife, Sarah, we are the program directors. We have over 10 years of full-time ministry experience. We founded World Family Missions, which is this nonprofit organization, and I've been the primary administrator. So I've done all the taxes, all the tax receipts. I've done all the IRS forms, and so I know how to manage this money. I know how to manage a nonprofit organization. You're going to get tax-deductible receipts when you make donations. You're going to get good communication. We're going to run things the right way. We have a track record of doing ministry well for over 10 years. We also have gone through this ourselves. We stepped in for a child with almost no notice, and then we walked through the process of struggling and then ultimately finding professionals who could help and getting help for our family. And we've seen a lot of growth in our family because of that. And so we're going to be leading this program from a point of experience. And then we've put together a board of people who are very, very experienced in all these areas, starting with Dr. Peg Simonet. She has over 40 years of being a licensed family counselor. She's also a minister and an adoptive and foster parent. Her and her husband have taken in over 100 children over their 50 plus years of ministry or of marriage and ministry. And they have a heart for kids, and she really, Dr. Peg has an understanding the professional side of what families need, and was a great resource as we were talking and interviewing people about what this program really should be. She's given us great feedback. Then we have Pastor Jordan Stowe. He's the senior pastor at Angus Church. He has over 10 years of child development experience through the daycare industry and has over 10 years of ministry experience in the church world. He's a great resource because he's a great leader. He's a senior pastor. He makes that connection with Angus, which we have. And like I mentioned before, he's the president of the Tulsa Metro Baptist Network, which is a network of over hundreds of churches. And he's very, very connected in our state, can help build bridges to other churches. We have Sandra Thomas, who has 40 plus years of youth and children's ministry and is adoptive grandparent. One of her grandchildren is adoptive, and so she's watched her daughter and their family walk through a lot of these same struggles and seen the need for this kind of program. We have Pastor Wade and Sally Leslie. These were house parents at the Sand Springs Children's Home for many years. They've adopted several children. And they're entrepreneurs, both of them. And so they have a great business sense, but they also just have a heart for kids. They walk through this. In fact, they've been great. As I've talked to them about this program, they're the ones who just said, we wish we would have had this when we were walking through that season of our life. And that's been great because then we can say, okay, what would have helped? to them, and they can say this would have helped, and our program can adjust and offer that sort of a thing. Along with that, they have both volunteered to come and lead small groups and be that kind of older parent who's walked through it, and be that support for the younger parents who are walking through it, or even just parents who are still in it, even if they're the same age. They can help walk through that. And then we have Beth Conley, who has 40 plus years of teaching experience in school and church settings. She was a public school teacher, and so she really understands kids. She really understands working with parents, and she's a great resource for us as well. Let's talk about the financials a little bit, since we're going to ask for some donations here. I want you to understand where money's going to. And so if you take a look, this is kind of our 3-year plan for financials. Top part of this talks about revenue. Here's what we're trying to bring in support. Just talking about year one, we're going to look at cash donations. We'd like to raise about $50,000 in cash donations to be used for scholarships and things like that. We'd also like to raise about $75,000 in professional in-kind donations. Again, this could be therapists, counseling, this could be music or sports, anything that these families need. We want to get those donated. And then this is our first time in the grant field, and so we're going to set the bar at $25,000 in grants. We've never really sought out grants before as an organization. World Family Missions hasn't, and so this is going to be something new, but we believe that there's grants out there that we could get that would really help our program, and so that's what we're seeking. If you take a look at our expenses, you're going to see that we have rent and utilities, $500 for the first year. And the reason that we have rent and utilities is not that we have an office or anything like that. It's because we're going to have to pay for some hosting of small groups. Right now, we're going to start by just being an Angus church, which is going to be free. But after that, as we expand, we may need to throw some money at other churches to be able to rent their facilities or at least pay for utilities. You can see from year 1 to 2 to 3, those numbers jump drastically because we want to be expanding small groups to more and more and more places. And we understand that it's a little bit difficult for some churches to allow a group to come in and not pay anything, to at least cover utilities. And so we want to be prepared to pay for the space that we're using. The second category in our expenses is the biggest one, and I hope for most nonprofits it would be. This is program expenses and scholarships. This is what the money's going to. It's going for scholarships. It's going to pay for these professional services. It's going to pay to develop these trainings that we're doing and hire professionals to make these training. And so most of the money that's being given is going to go straight into that. And we're going to put a little bit of money into advertising and marketing. Because we're going to be a Facebook group, it's really important that we get in front of other people. People see us. And so we'll put some money towards Facebook marketing, which is something that our pastor, Jordan, who's on our board, has a lot of experience. He actually has a degree in marketing. And so we'll put some money towards that to get the word out about our program. You can see that for year 1, nobody's getting paid. It's all volunteer work. But over the next couple of years, what we want to see is we want to be able to hire at least one person part-time the first in year 2, and then either 2 part-time people or 1 full-time person in year 3. And these people will be looking for grants, trying to get grants for our program. They're going to be doing donor relations. They're going to be doing administration. They're also going to be developing content for the program. There's lots of these things that we're just going to have to do as volunteers on the front end, but we really know this is something that needs to be a job. And so we're going to do that. We're going to hopefully be able to hire a person or 2, or maybe even some smaller part-time roles. But we want to put some money as this program develops, that this really becomes an organization in itself. So we continue on. Competition. Talk about who else is doing this, because that helps us understand the need. So where do we exist in the larger overall market space? And as mentioned before, there are a few people who are reaching out. There are very few people who are reaching out to these specific families. In fact, I don't know of anybody that's really targeting this type of family. Churches will likely provide some services like small groups for these families, but they're often not aware of specific struggles that come when you step into a child's life in this way. And I can speak to that personally as a pastor of a church. We offer small groups, but we don't even have any small groups right now that are specifically for these families, right? We have general small groups. And so we don't need to compete with churches. We don't want that at all. We want to partner with churches. We want to serve as bridge builders between churches and these families. We want to partner with churches to create groups that will bring healing, support, and community. We want these churches to be able to help our families. So what's our advantage? Why would families go with us? Well, our team is made up of people with significant experience in ministry and child development and adoption. We understand how to reach these families and how to run an organization that connects clients with support they need. Because of our connection to Angus Church, Oklahoma Baptist, and other church networks, we have the ability to connect with churches and volunteers throughout the state. These connections can create opportunities for new group locations, volunteers, and financial support. And so as we wrap up today, we need help. And that's why we've done this presentation today, because we are raising support right now, and we need your support. And so, as mentioned before, we are raising $75,000 in professional services and $50,000 in financial donations for our first year. And I would like to say to you, if you know of anybody who's in this situation, or if you personally have stepped in for a child, I want you to think about what they've gone through. I want you to think about how beneficial it would be is if they didn't have to pay those adoption fees, if they had professionals who would donate their services, even if they just had support of people who know what they were going through. Think about the impact that that could make. I hope when you think about that, it compels you to give. I hope it compels you to give either your time as a volunteer or financially so we can help support these families. Or if you're a professional hearing this, I hope that you could use those talents and those skills that you have, the service you have, use them to help these families. I'd ask that you partner with Step In Oklahoma to really make a difference in these kids' lives. We got all these expenses we need to pay for, and we need your help in paying for them. So guys, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I ask for your financial support, ask for your prayers and thoughts, your services, and as we walk along. I also encourage you to check out Step In Oklahoma online once we get that Facebook page up, and be a part of helping these families who are stepping in for kids in Oklahoma. Thank you so much.